John had little use for politics. It seems almost like an initiation, doesn't it? By sharing our time, talents, and treasures with those in need, we are helping them to be whole again. We are giving shalom. Have you ever met someone who is unforgettable? A person who made just an impression on you that you could not forget them, even if you wanted to. Perhaps it was their words, their appearance, or simply their presence. Something about them made you remember them forever. I think such was the case with John the Baptist. I'm not alone, since according to Luke, crowds met at the river of Jordan to watch this man who lived off locusts and wild honey preach for hours. Of course, one reason for his popularity was that John had no hesitation to publicly call out both the Pharisees as well as King Herod Antipas for their indiscretions, among many other things. As a result, he was a popular figure to the poor and marginalized. I sometimes call him the New Testament's answer to Elijah, since John had little use for politics. We see this with the opening salvo John fires at the crowd who had come to be baptized. You brood of vipers, who warned you to flee from the wrath to come? As we can see, John is no smooth-talking televangelist. No, instead we have a prophet who issues an uncomfortable but necessary warning to his flock. He continues by asking, who warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Who indeed? It seems almost like an initiation, doesn't it? Before we get to the sweet story of Jesus in the manger, we must first listen to John the Baptist. Mother Page spoke last week of the irony of John, and yet here we are in the third week of Advent, where we light the candle of joy, and our gospel reading is John haranguing the crowd before him. The reader might logically conclude, where's the joy in this? To which I would say, stand by. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, John had one more warning for the crowd before him. You see, these were Jews who had come to the river of Jordan, men and women who fervently believe and were taught that they were the chosen ones by birthright, beginning with Abraham. John was having none of it. He states, do not begin to say to yourselves, we have Abraham as our ancestor. And then he warns them of the axe laying at the root of trees to be chopped down and thrown into the fire. If John did not already have our attention before, he certainly does now. Then the crowd, no doubt lost in despair, cries out, what then should we do? And this is finally when John allows joy to enter the story. He says, whoever has two coats must share with anyone who has none, and whoever has food must do likewise. Mother Page mentioned the word shalom in her sermon last week, and this is an act of shalom. The word shalom means peace, but it can also mean to make something or someone whole. By sharing our time, talents, and treasures with those in need, We are helping them to be whole again. We are giving shalom. In this respect, we can view the word shalom as a verb instead of a noun. The joy of Third Advent is even more stated in our second reading this morning. Paul actually states, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say, rejoice. He concludes, let your gentleness be known to everyone. It is through gentleness that we can touch people's hearts. And it is through touching hearts that we can heal souls. Someone said to me last Sunday something like, you are certainly qualified to help others, which I took as a compliment, of course. However, while it's true that I have the schooling and experience of working with the homeless, I believe what is much more important is what is in my heart. Indian philosopher Yogananda said, let my soul smile through my heart, and my heart smile through my eyes, that I may scatter rich smiles in sad hearts. So as we experience the third Sunday of Advent, what should we take away from our offered readings? First, John's speech to the crowd was part warning, part instruction, and part joyous response. John warns us to never sit back and think that we do not need to do anything to find favor with God. No, there are wounded people walking our streets every day in need of our healing. However, it is only with gentleness and an open and joyous heart that we can give that help to others. Second, John instructs us in how to help those in need. When we have plenty, we should give to those who are struggling. When we have food, give to those who are hungry. Finally, only take what is rightfully ours, and do not take from what does not belong to us. These are rules of life that are just as valid today as they were nearly 2,000 years ago. I conclude this sermon with a question. Who can you help? How can you help? What could you do with gentleness and an open and joyous